I'm going to use something called an impact driver to remove them, and you do is you put them on the screw just like this, put it on there, and you tap it on the end, and they come right out. This thing saved me a million times over the years. And if you look at my Amazon store below the video, you'll see this driver in there. I do make a small commission off of anything you buy off the store, just so you know. All right, we'll take these screws out and we'll put these on the side. We are going to put these back in later on. All right. Now we're going to take our small screwdriver or pry bar or whatever we have, and we're going to come in here. We're going to put this in here just like this, and it's going to catch on the side of the rotor, and we're going to push these pistons back into the bore very slowly. There's no need to push on it real hard. You're just going to do it very slightly just to get it to move a little bit. So now the pistons are pushed back in. We're going to push the caliper back and forth just like this to make sure that our slide pins are sliding just the way they're supposed to, which they are. So we know the slide pins are okay. Next, we're going to come in here. We're going to come in here with either a 13 or 14 millimeter socket, and we're going to remove these two bolts right here. Actually, it's a 14 millimeter, just so you know. So we're going to break these loose. We're going to break them both loose. Before we take anything out, we loosen both of them. Our caliper off. And these are the pistons here we're pushing back in. We may have to push them back in a little bit further, but for now we're just going to take the caliper, put our piece of wire or hook or whatever we have, and we're just going to put this up and out of the way just like that so it doesn't interfere with what we're doing. We can take our brake pads out if you choose to. You don't have to, but you're going to take them out, put them on the ground and get them out of the way, just like that. Next, we're going to come up underneath here, and there's two bolts. One is here, and one is here. They're both 17 millimeters. We're going to remove both of those to remove the mounting bracket from the car or truck. Just going to put it on here like this. Now, as you can see, this one doesn't fit on there because of the bracket here for the knuckle and the strut. So we're going to come back to this with a regular wrench to get this one off. But we are going to take the bottom one out. We're going to put it on just like that. And a lot of times you look at it and you try to pull up on this, and it's really hard to pull on it because it's just very rusty. Just get it to a point like that. Use your leg, put it on your leg, and just pull up. And you can break it loose just like that. And make sure you have your washer on there as well. Now let's take the bracket off. We're going to put the bracket down here for now. Now this rotor, as you can see, is stuck a little bit, but it's no big deal. We're going to be replacing it anyway, so you can just take your hammer and bang it a few times in the back, and you can usually get it off. This rotor is then trash, of course. Now, before we do anything to put it back together, we're going to come in here with some emery cloth, and we're going to clean up any of that rust that's inside here. We're going to sand this down a little bit so we have no rust in here whatsoever before we put the new rotor back on. So let me clean this up with some emery cloth, and then we'll come right back. So now we cleaned up all of the rust that was on the hub itself. We cleaned it all up so it's nice and clean. Very important is you got to make sure that you have no rust on here whatsoever. If you even have like a 32nd or a 64th of an inch rust, you're going to put it together and you're going to wind up with a pulsating brake pedal. So take the time to get in there with some emery cloth and clean it up really good. All right, next thing we're going to do now is before you put the rotor on, we're going to clean it up with some brake cleaner. Now there's lots of different brands out there. This just happens to be the one that I bought. We're going to spray it very little on here, and then we'll clean it off, just like that. And then we'll clean off any of the grease or dirt from during the shipping. All right, we'll do the same thing on the other side here. All right, you don't have to get everything off because we're going to come back in here later on after we put it all together and then we're gonna clean it up the rest of the way. All right, so now after we have it cleaned up, we're gonna take our rotor, put our rotor back on. There's only one way it can go on. You wanna line up the screw holes here with the screw holes on the new rotor. So we're gonna take it like this, put it up on here, put it on, push it in, and they line up right here. And now we're gonna take the 2 screws that we previously removed, and we're gonna put them back in where they belong. A lot of guys say, oh, throw them away, you don't need them. Put them back in, they're there for a reason. If it didn't need it, the manufacturer wouldn't put them in there. All right, so we're just gonna screw them in by hand right now. And then once you have both of them caught, now you can tighten them down. Nice and tight. Okay, and that's done. Next, we're going to take our mounting bracket. Remember, we checked these and we know that these are moving nice and freely. Same thing here, nice and freely. But we are going to take these out and we're going to lubricate them. So you hold the rubber with your fingers, you take this and you take it and you pull it out and rotate it, and it comes out just like that. Do one at a time because these are 2 different ones. One has rubber on it and the other one is solid steel. So we're going to clean it off with the brake fluid that we have on our rag from before. Okay. We're going to take our brake caliper lubricant, put a little bit on here. You do not need a lot. You want to use it sparingly. You do not want to get the grease on this part, the very end. You want to make sure the grease stays just on the part that's moving through the seals. Just like that. Okay? And then we just take it, put it back in here like this, take it and rotate it and push it in, and you watch that seal pop back up into that groove right there. And that's it. It's up where it belongs. We're going to do the exact same thing on this one. Hold the rubber seal, take it and rotate it, pull it out. And you see how this has that seal on there? That's why you want to do only one at a time. All right, so let's clean off the grease on here as well. Okay, does not have to be spotless, but you want to get it as clean as you can. Put a little bit of the silicone on here again. Remember, you do not want to get it on this side over here. And we're just going to push it on here like this and spread it around on the rubber seal as well, just like that. And then we'll take this, put it back in here, take it and turn it and push it in until the seal pops back in place, and that's it. They're now lubricated and ready to go. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the hardware here, and they just usually push off with your thumbs. You can push it off. If it's real tight, you can use a screwdriver, and then any rust that's inside here, you want to clean it off. These are, there's no rust on here whatsoever, so we're not going to do anything with that. Going to do the exact same thing over here. Pull it off. Let's take a look at this one. Same exact thing. These are in really good shape. There's no rust or oxidation or anything. They look pretty good. Actually, this one has a little bit of oxidation, so we are going to clean this a little bit. And you can use emery cloth just to get in there, just like this. And you can just clean it off. Just a little bit of emery cloth, and it takes off whatever oxidation is in there. Now, if it's very heavy oxidation, you can use a file to clean it up a little bit. But that depends on the situation you have. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of this grease again. We're going to put just a little bit where the mounting bracket is going to go on, just like that. Okay, we're going to take our finger, we're just going to spread it around a little bit, just like that. Same thing here. Okay, do the exact same thing right here. And finally, right here, just like that. Okay, so now this bracket is nice and lubricated. We're going to put a new hardware on there. There's only one way that the hardware can go on, and you have to be careful with these clips right here that they push down all the way down as far as they can go. So we're going to take this now. We're going to lift this up, put it in here just like this, push this on here, and most important is right in here, we're going to push these clips all the way in just like that. Turn it over. And we'll do the exact same thing here. Put it in here like this, push it down, and then push these clips all the way down like that. And that's in as far as it goes. All right, now every place that the brake pad is going to touch on the new mounting clip, we're going to put a slight little bead of lubricant as well. And you'll find this in my Amazon store below the video as well. And then we're just going to move the lube around just like this. This way the brake pad has a nice area for it to touch into, just like that. Okay. And we are going to put a little bit of lubricant on the threads right here, just like that. We're going to take our mounting bracket and we're going to put it back up on here. There's only one way it can go, just like that. We're going to catch our screw up on top. Make sure your washer is still in place and it didn't fall off. And once you feel that that's caught in there, then we take our second caliper mounting bracket, screw, put it in there and screw it down as far as you can. You can probably turn them in most of the way by hand, and then we'll come in here with a ratchet and we will tighten them up. All right, so that's it. We're all set. Let's grab our brake pads now, put our brake pads in. Now you remember the brake pad that came off with the indicator, that was on the inside, and you can tell because it has the circular mark right here. This is touching into the pistons on the caliper. So we're going to take this and we're going to put it in this way with the new one, of course. So we're going to take our brake pad, take it like this, lift it in. I know it's tough to see it on the inside, but you'll see it on the outside when I do it as well. And you just take the pad, put it in just like that. Right here on the bottom, you'll see it go in. Take it up on top right there, push it in. And that's why we want to lubricate it, because you want the brake pad sliding nice and freely like that. All right, next thing we're going to do now is we're going to get this stuff out of the way. And we're going to take our caliper down. We're going to push that piston back in further, and we'll finish this job up. Okay, so let's take our caliper, take this off. We're going to put it up on top of someplace here, just like this. And these pistons, we're going to push these back in just a little bit further because these did not push in all the way. So for now, we're going to take this brake pad here back out, just like this. We're going to take it and lay it up in here. We're going to take one of our old brake pads, put it in here, and then we're going to take our tool, put it in here, and we're going to slowly turn it in to push the pistons back in. Now, there's lots of different tools to do this. And again, if you check my Amazon store, you'll see that there's different ones in there. You will not find this one in there because they don't make this type of tool any longer. I've had this tool for a long time. You want to turn it nice and slowly until the pistons push all the way back in. Now, you don't have to push it hard. It'll go in by itself, nice and easy. It's got a very small hole that the fluid needs to flow through. All right, and once it stops moving and it's in as far as it can go, we'll take this back off. Obviously, this brake pad is trash. We're going to take our new brake pad, we're going to take it, put it back in here where it was, push it back in. Okay? Now we're going to take a little bit of lubricant, and every place that the brake pad is going to touch that's made of metal, you're going to put a slight bit of lubricant on there. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. Okay, same thing on these 3 points right here. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. Okay. Now we'll take our caliper and we'll put it back on. Now when you put the caliper back on, make sure that your brake hose right here is not twisted. I can't tell you how many times jobs come into my shop and this hose is twisted around like that. That's never a good thing. That's very dangerous and it could actually cause brake failure. So make sure when you put it back on that there's no kinks in the hose whatsoever, that it's nice and straight, no kinks. All right, we'll put our caliper back up on here and we're going to push these back in slightly, and it pushes in, same thing on the bottom, just like that. And now our caliper is in position. We're going to take our 14mm screws. We're going to lift up with one hand and we're going to screw the screw in with the other, just like that, until it doesn't go any further. We'll do the exact same thing on the bottom, right here. If it doesn't line up, just move the caliper around and then you can tighten it down. So we're going to grab our 14mm socket. Again, there's torque specs on this, but I don't have the torque specs with me, so I'm just going to snug them down. Okay, so that's it. Our front brakes are done. All right, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.